of seeking to understand. What do the numbers mean? How did we get to these numbers? What does it look like if we shift these numbers? How do we properly align revenues with expenses to understand that, oh, but this is what we do every year, and we do this and we like it and we know how to do it, but is it worth continuing to do if it's not yielding us a positive return? And as I looked at this and have experienced in my short time with NSADC, how there's some things that we're doing that maybe they have outlived their usefulness, or times have changed and we need to change with the times to be moving ourselves closer to what a healthy chapter by nationals definitions, what it looks like and how we get there and how we make it work for us and to grow our organization, whether it's Speaker Academy, whether it's our annual fundraiser. Maybe we need to think of fundraising as more than one event a year, not in as harder terms as it takes to do the auction, but maybe small ways that generate revenue that we can begin to track and trend going forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so the easiest way to explain this is that reading a financial statement is like, how many of you speak more than one language? And the challenges it was to learn that language, and with all the nuances, with proper grammar and all sorts of things. Accounting's kind of the same way. It's just a different language. And so it's not about becoming expert at it, but it is about becoming more comfortable and not as nervous and feel like, oh, I can't do that, because you can. At the end of the day, accounting is no more than adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Different from math, which I am just math averse, but accounting I can do. And so on the first side, you will see our current year, the 2018-2019 budget that we're charting to, and then an attempt, working with Colleen and Jerry May, of what the 2019-2020 budget could possibly look like. And I say could because it's not complete, because if you go to the bottom line that says net profit, it's in the negative. That is something we don't want. We always want to either have a zero-based budget or a budget that if we achieve our goals of revenue generation, that we're going to add money to our reserves, to other things we may want to do as a chapter that have costs with them. And so one of the things that I noticed off the bat is that the goal that NSA National has is that a healthy chapter has a year's worth of expenses in reserve. We're not there. We're close, but we're not there. And what is it going to take for us to get there? I'm just going to throw this out. Anybody? To be able to have in reserve a year's worth of expenses?
I actually have to be in the black to start with.
Have to be in the black, more revenue. Exactly. It's not rocket science, you know. So as people, oh, what does it take to get there?
Well, I thought you wanted a number.
No, not a number, just more
more
money.
Right.
More money.
More money.
Okay.
More money, free and clear of expense.
Okay.
Okay? And so we're not there yet. We're very close. We've got about $68,000 in savings, which you won't see here because this is a profit and loss document. Cash on hand belongs to a balance sheet. And so we're just going to deal with the profit and loss statement, or some might call the income statement. And so you'll see, and don't worry about the delta is the difference between what we forecast last year's budget with to what we think this year's budget might yield us. Budgeting from an accountant's perspective should always be conservative. What does it mean to be conservative? We may think for fundraising we're going to raise $20,000, but when we look at our trends and what we have on tap, maybe $10,000 is more realistic. If we surpass that $10,000, woohoo! We're on our way to becoming more of a healthy chapter by National's definition. But we're not there yet. But, hope springs eternal. So when we look at this, I wanted us to have a little conversation about our fundraising. So as I've looked at the auction being pretty much our only fundraiser, that the cost of hosting that auction really is not yielding $10,000 for fundraising. And I say that because when you offset the cost of the auction by the expenses, that is the real number we should be looking at when we talk about fundraising. So if our expenses are $5,000, then we're only raising $5,000.